Clever horses. The horse is an animal which is well called the friend of man. In the olden days, when there were no railways or motor cars, men used to make all their journeys on horseback or in coaches pulled by horses. Horses pulled the ploughs and dragged the heavy carts laden with goods from place to place, and though in these days of motors we do not need horses nearly so much as we used, the patient, willing animals still do a lot of very useful work in pulling and carrying, and always will. Many stories are told which show that horses often get to understand their masters' ways and wishes with remarkable clearness, and sometimes learn to imitate them. One pony, who had often seen his master knock at the front door of his house when he wanted to get in, was left waiting outside much longer than he liked. At last he stepped onto the pavement, lifted up the knocker with his nose, and let it fall. When his master, hearing the knock, came to the door, the pony greeted him with a neigh of pleasure. Another horse, whose master frequently left him outside public houses while he went in to get a drink, once put his nose inside the door, took his master's coat collar in his mouth, and pulled him out. He thought his master was staying too long. Another horse belonged to a butcher, who lived in a small town. He was ridden every day by the butcher's boy, who used to take home the customers' joints in a basket, and he was well known in the town for his smart trotting. A gentleman who saw him took a fancy to him, and persuaded the butcher to sell him. A few weeks later, however, the gentleman came back with a complaint. The horse would not trot. Indeed, it only crawled along whenever he took it out. "Oh, that's because you don't carry a basket," said the butcher. "He only trotted when my boy had his meat basket with him." A pretty story is told of a cart horse whose sense and kindliness saved a baby from injury. The horse was dragging a heavy load of coals up a very narrow lane. The driver, who knew his horse could be trusted, was walking behind, when the horse suddenly stopped. Sitting in the middle of the lane was a small child playing with the dust. He did not move, so the horse took hold of his frock with his teeth, lifted him up very gently, and placed him on the footpath out of harm's way. A horse belonging to a farmer would not be locked up in its stable one night, but instead broke away from its master and ran to the blacksmith who usually shod it. It went straight into the smithy and held up its foot, when the blacksmith found that a small stone had lodged under its shoe. The horse knew who could best take it out for him. Horses are very beautiful and noble creatures, and there are but few men who, brought in contact with them, do not get very fond of them. Perhaps they look their very best when they are enjoying their well-earned rest in a field. In the picture on the previous page, you see a mare and her foal. How proud she is of her beautiful offspring, and how fond the foal is of her good and kind mother.